Alabama has produced some star wide receivers over the years, such as Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, and Calvin Ridley, but the 2019 core may be the greatest to ever walk through a college campus, and today we'll talk about it. Jeudy, Henry Ruggs II, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle are all likely going to be first-round picks when it's all said and done, and I can't think of a group more elite than those four. We will talk about each of these players' stories, their careers at Alabama, and what could make them the best wide receiver room ever. But first, if you love college football, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to support what I'm doing here, please be sure to give the video a like, suggest another topic like this I could do next, and turn on post notifications so you get notified every time I upload. Today I am joined by Jonathan from Embrace the Grind, and it's actually his birthday, and we need to help his channel get more subscribers, so be sure to check out his content and subscribe. I know that would make my day and his day. Now, without further ado, let's get started and turn it over to Jonathan to talk about our first guy.
Thanks for having me on, Scott. My name is Jonathan from Embrace the Grind, and if you are not yet subscribed to Scott, make sure to do so by the end of this video. The first wide receiver I want to talk about is Jalen Waddle. Waddle was originally from Houston, Texas, and attended high school at Episcopal High School in the Bel Air area of Houston. While in high school, Waddle showed off how extremely talented he was and dominated in the 4A Southwest Preparatory Conference. The issues surrounding Waddle came from the level of competition he was playing, since the preparatory level in Texas is not held in the same regard as the public school competition. That did not stop Waddle from earning an invite to play in the U.S. Army All-American game, along with a slew of awards as a senior. Recruiting-wise, Jalen Waddle was a 4-star recruit who ranked as the 3rd best player in Texas, 5th best wide receiver, and 39th best player in his class, according to 24/7 Sports Composite. Waddle ultimately chose Alabama over the likes of Florida State, Oregon, Texas, and Texas A&M. When Waddle first got to Alabama, he was a part of a crowded wide receiver room, but quickly made a name for himself torching defenses in practice. Teammates raved about how explosive Waddle was, and he clocked an official 4.37 40-yard dash his freshman year. On top of having blazing speed, Waddle was also great at changing direction. Waddle recorded 45 receptions for 848 yards and 7 touchdowns as a freshman, averaging 18.8 yards per reception. As a sophomore, Waddle remained one of Alabama's deep threats, but saw a dip in his numbers. He recorded 33 receptions for 560 yards and 6 touchdowns, while also handling return duties, finishing with 1,227 all-purpose yards on the season. As Waddle entered his junior year, he looked to take on a bigger role in the offense with the departure of Jeudy and Henry Ruggs III. Waddle played extremely well through Alabama's first 4 games of the season, but suffered a serious ankle injury against Tennessee, causing him to miss a majority of the season. While some may have opted out of the season to focus on the NFL draft, Jalen Waddle worked to get back on the field one more time for Alabama. He would succeed in that, returning in the national championship game against Ohio State, recording 3 receptions for 34 yards in the Crimson Tide win. Waddle finished the year recording 28 receptions for 591 yards and 4 touchdowns. Going into the 2021 NFL Draft, Waddle is viewed as one of the top 3 wide receivers in his class. According to ESPN, Waddle measures to be 5'11" and weigh 177 pounds coming out of college. As of February 19th, Waddle is Todd McShay's 3rd-rated wide receiver and 11th overall prospect in the draft class. McShay writes, "Put the ball in his hands and let things happen. He tracks the deep ball well, explodes out of breaks, and shows excellent lateral agility and field vision. Waddle forces defenses to respect the vertical game and is viewed as the signature speed receiver for the 2021 class, but he's not just a speed guy. According to Sports Illustrated's Arnav Sharma, because of his elite speed, he often found himself dealing with underthrown and misplaced deep balls by quarterback Mac Jones. There are a few places where Waddle was forced to turn around and make a catch over a defender against momentum, which he does surprisingly effective. Waddle will need to improve his strength if he wants to be an outside receiver, according to Sports Illustrated. Sharma also writes, while his route running techniques do lack a lot of nuances and suddenness relative to his natural athleticism, Waddle shows bursts of efficient and quick footwork, meaning he could likely develop into a gifted route runner with proper coaching. The biggest concern around Waddle is how he will heal from this ankle injury, but I would be surprised if he is not a top 15 overall pick in April."
Jonathan just talked about Jalen Waddle, so let's quickly brush on the first wide receiver who was taken in the first round of last year, Jeudy. Everyone knows Judy as the 5-star Bama star, who is a young and up-and-coming player for the Broncos, but many don't know what motivated him to become the player he is. His sister tragically died of a rare medical condition when she was 7 years old, and this was really tough for Jerry. He said, quote, "It wasn't easy, but at the same time, she was suffering from all the things she was going through, like the things she can't do. She can't walk, she can't talk, but now I feel like she's in a better place where she can do what she wants to do. She can walk, she can talk, she can be whatever she wants. Now she's not suffocating on earth." This definitely fueled him emotionally and made him into the person he is, but how did he become that star player? Well, I'm actually going to make a video on Judy here in the coming weeks, so we'll talk about that more, but for now, let's go to a crazy recruiting story. There's a story of his coach taking a few players to a couple of camps, and that van had Calvin Ridley in it as well. And at the last moment, the 15-year-old Jerry walked up to the van and asked if he could go, and he went to all the camps with them and fit right in, and that's when the recruiting process really started for him. His coach's favorite part of that story is that Judy sat on the floor without a seatbelt, proving just how bad he wanted to be there. He became a legend around the area and was one of the most lethal wide receivers in all of high school football. He wanted to be elite, and Calvin Ridley was a great person to model that after. Judy knew that football would be his way out, as when he was growing up, the idea of college was never supposed to happen for him, and he was just hoping to play football and then work a 9 to 5 because the family didn't have the money. When he realized he could play football in college and get paid to go, it motivated him even more, and don't judge the kid because this happened when he was in middle school. The first school that was interested in him was Cincinnati, and then he blew up, and sort of the rest is history. What I found really moving was in high school when his sister died. The saddest part was that he always said he was going to make it to the league to get her better treatment and to be able to save her, and that just moved me, and it's really sad that it never happened, but I think Judy's going to do a lot of good for this world. He was a 5-star recruit and chose Alabama over Florida, saying, quote, "They have great coaches, great players, and that's a winning team. I feel I can go there and make plays." According to 24/7 Sports, Judy was a 5-star recruit, the number 3 wide receiver, and the 21st best player in the class of 2017. He came into Alabama with a lot of high expectations and was joined by another freshman stud named Henry Ruggs, who we will touch on later. He won the MVP of the Alabama spring game with 5 catches for 134 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was apparently disappointed with how his career had started at Alabama though, as he would go on to not talk much in the locker room and just let his work do the talking. He was a step ahead of everyone, and Judy amassed 14 catches for 264 yards and 2 scores during his freshman season. Now that Ridley was gone, he was seen as the next man up, and that is exactly what he did. Judy caught 6 touchdown passes in Alabama's first 3 games of the 2018 season, which included a 136-yard, 2-touchdown performance against Ole Miss. He had 135 yards and 2 scores against Arkansas, then he set a career-high 147-yard game and a touchdown against Missouri. He had 139 yards and a touchdown in their loss to Clemson in the national title game, and going into that year, and he had even set the records for yards per catch at Alabama. He was named both a first-team All-American and a first-team All-SEC player, and he won the Biletnikoff Award after he caught 68 passes for 1,315 yards and 14 touchdowns. Going into 2019, he was pegged as a preseason first-team All-American and a Heisman sleeper, but the season didn't go as well as many expected. After a hot start, he cooled off for a bit, and once Tua went down with an injury, his numbers began to fall. He still finished the regular season with 959 yards receiving and 9 scores, and was once again named a first-team All-SEC member. He'd go out in a bang as he had 200 yards in their Citrus Bowl win over Michigan, and proved that it wasn't Mac Jones' fault for his numbers dropping. He became one of the most decorated wide receivers in Tide history, and declared for the 2020 NFL Draft, where he was taken in the first round by the Broncos, and became one of the best rookie wide receivers in the NFL.
The next wide receiver I want to talk about is this year's Heisman winner, Devonta Smith. Smith is originally from Amite, Louisiana, and attended Amite High Magnet School. Many in the Louisiana area hoped Smith would stay close to home for college, but he decided differently. Originally, Smith was committed to Georgia, but would decommit without stating a specific reason. According to 24/7 Sports Composite, Smith was a 4-star recruit who was the 2nd best player in Louisiana, 9th best wide receiver, and 62nd best player in his class. Smith held offers from over 23 different schools, including Alabama, Florida State, LSU, and Georgia. He would ultimately choose Alabama, where he would join a crowded wide receiver room. Like Waddle, Smith would also play in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. On top of being a top-rated football player, Smith also played basketball in high school, and according to Sports Illustrated, Smith once debated about leaving football to concentrate on basketball. When Smith first got to Alabama, their wide receiver room consisted of Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs III. Smith only recorded 8 receptions in 8 games for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 of Smith's 3 touchdowns were game-winning touchdowns. The first came against Mississippi State on a 26-yard reception with 25 seconds left. The other reception is probably one of the most famous receptions, as Smith made the game-winning catch against Georgia to win the national championship in overtime. As a sophomore, Smith caught 42 passes for 693 yards and 6 touchdowns. Smith continued to improve as a junior, recording 68 receptions for 1,256 yards and 14 touchdowns. Many thought Smith may enter the NFL draft as a junior and could have gone late in the first round. Instead, Smith decided to return for his senior year, and man did it pay off. Not only did he record 117 receptions for 1,856 yards and 23 touchdowns, Smith also won the Heisman Trophy along with a slew of other awards. Smith finished his career at Alabama with 235 receptions for 3,965 yards and 46 touchdowns. Fun fact, according to NFL.com, coaches at Alabama believe Smith could have started at corner if he wanted to, as well as wide receiver. Going into the 2021 NFL Draft, Devonta Smith is viewed as one of the top wide receivers in the class, some even viewing him as the best one. Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network writes, "Smith is smooth, fluid route runner with outstanding body control, hands, and toughness. He can play inside or outside and uses his quickness to routinely defeat press coverage. He understands how to set up defenders and can sink his weight at the top of the routes, efficiently get in out of his breaks. He does a really good job working back down the route stem to the quarterback." Jeremiah even goes on to compare him to Marvin Harrison as a pro comparison. He does say he doesn't like comparing college players to Hall of Famers, but says that Smith and Harrison were both lean builds, crisp route runners, excellent hands, and toughness. He goes on to say, "I think Harrison was more sudden and explosive, but Smith's playing style is quite similar. I will give Smith the nod in one area. I believe he's more physical than Harrison." Smith's biggest knock is the fact that according to Alabama, he is 6'1" and 175 pounds. He has a lean frame and does not have elite speed. Many expect Smith to run in the low 4.5s for a 40 time, which isn't as bad as you would think, as that compares to Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, and Devonta Smith when they were coming out of college as well. According to Todd McShay, Smith is the 7th overall prospect in the class and 2nd best wide receiver. McShay talks about how Smith rarely drops anything in his vicinity and shows some jump after the catch. The Draft Network believes Smith is a Z receiver while also having the ability to play the X and take advantage of mismatches in the slot. They also believe a West Coast offense where he could get the ball in his hands quickly is the best fit for him. Smith should be a top 15 pick in this year's NFL Draft, and in the right fit, he could be a Pro Bowler one day. Now to close out this video, I will toss it right back to Scott.
Now we get into the final wide receiver on the list, and that is Henry Ruggs. I'm going to do an individual on Ruggs in the coming months too, so stay tuned for that video. Just like Judy, a very important person died in Henry's life as well, and it was his best friend. There is a terrific ESPN Game Day feature on this story, but I will quickly summarize it. He was best friends with a kid by the name of Roderick Scott, and they were as close as any friends could be. They both played basketball in the Alabama high school basketball system, but Roderick always told Henry his future was in football and not basketball. He said Ruggs was a 5-star kid and begged him to play football, which he did. He didn't play until his junior year, but would receive his first scholarship offer after only his second game. As a senior, he had 38 catches for 639 yards and 20 touchdowns, and of those 20 touchdowns, 9 were catches, 7 were rushes, 3 were passes, and 1 was even a kick return. Tragically though, Roderick would die in a car accident, and Ruggs was supposed to be driving that car that day, and unfortunately, Roderick would pass away. And this was a terrible thing. Scott had a scholarship to UAB to play basketball, and to honor him, Ruggs chose to commit to Alabama to play college football and honor his legacy, and that's exactly where Roderick always wanted him to go. To honor him, he always raised his 3 fingers in the air, and I doubt that'll ever change. He was never to go anywhere else, and picked a great place to become a good wide receiver. According to 24/7 Sports, Ruggs was a 4-star recruit, the number 11 wide receiver, and the 75th best player in the class of 2017. He joined Judy in that class, and Ruggs was good, but no one thought he would be better. As a true freshman at Alabama in 2017, Ruggs had 12 catches for 229 yards and 6 touchdowns, and showed his worth and future. As a sophomore in 2018, he had 46 catches for 741 yards and 11 total touchdowns, had become one of the most lethal duos in college football. As a junior in 2019, he had 40 catches for 746 yards and 7 receiving touchdowns, and he also returned 3 kicks and is 3rd in school history in receiving touchdowns. He declared for the 2020 NFL Draft and was projected to be a first-round pick. Many said that CeeDee Lamb or his teammate Judy would be the first guy taken, but the Raiders shocked everyone and chose Ruggs with the 12th overall pick. As a rookie, he caught 26 passes for 452 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he'll be a pivotal offensive piece for years to come with the Raiders. So we now know about all these guys, but are they the greatest receiving room ever? Well, more than likely all 4 of them will go in the first round of the NFL Draft when it's all said and done, with the only one being questionable, Jalen Waddle, but I definitely think he will. In total, the 4 wide receivers caught 598 passes for 10,422 yards and 113 touchdowns, and that doesn't count any of the other all-purpose touchdowns that Ruggs or Waddle would have had. This was all in their time at Alabama. They had 2 first-team All-Americans, 2 Biletnikoff winners, a game-winning touchdown catch to win a title, and even a Heisman winner, and I can't think of a group who had better stats than that. At least in recent memory, there's not a more elite wide receiver room, and maybe the Miami Hurricanes room with Reggie Wayne back in the day comes close, but my money is on this 2019 Bama group to be the best to ever do it, and hats off to Billy Napier for recruiting these guys as Bama's wide receivers coach, as he could have gotten any talented player in the country, but he chose these 4 guys. He is now the head coach at Louisiana, and it's only a matter of time before he is a Power 5 head coach, and I really like Billy Napier. But if you disagree with me, let me know down in the comment section another room that's better, and if you agree with me, let me know as well. Let me know what you guys think of today's video and all of their stories, and also who will be the best wide receiver of these 4. Also, I want to know who is the next great Bama wide receiver for the coming years, and another topic I could do next. Before you go, be sure to subscribe to Jonathan's channel and my channel, give the video a like if you want to support what I do here on YouTube, and check out all my other videos, including my video about the rise of Devonta Smith and my ultimate college football playlist. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.